Okay, namaste. We will have a very important discussion today. So before that, we will start with our Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Sahana Avadu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavad Suma Vitvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. So, we discussed Karma Yoga, its relevance for Chitta Shuddhi and all that. So, today we are going to start our discussion. It is a very long topic. Start our discussion on how to prioritize our spiritual choices, the different choices of spiritual learning, the sadhana, the methods, the communities we go, the satsanga we listen to, all the resources, the spiritual resources, the choice over different spiritual resources, how to make, and the choice over what methods we have to apply in our personal practice on a day-to-day basis, how to make the choice, etc. So basically, I will call it as spiritual prioritizing. So why am I calling it spiritual prioritizing? Because this is prioritizing related to our spiritual life. Now, before we go into specific details, of different techniques, methods, etc., it's important to understand this spectrum, the spectrum of spiritual growth, right? The spiritual growth or maturity from the framework of liberation, enlightenment, freedom, moksha. From that, I am calling it as a growth, because to grow means towards a target, towards a growth. So with moksha purushartha, with moksha or liberation or enlightenment or freedom, absolute freedom as the ultimate goal, keeping that, we are defining a spectrum. We are defining a spectrum of growth. So in one end of the spectrum, number 10, I'm going in reverse. Usually the 10-point scale, they say in all these quantitative analysis and things like this, they say 10-point scale they have. So this 10-point scale, usually the best is in the 10 and the worst is in the 1. So here we will reverse it. So I'm going to say the best or the moksha or enlightenment or jnana. Let's call it jnana. Right? Jnana is 1. 5 would be yoga. I wouldn't say that. Jnana would be 1. 10 would be bhoga. Okay. Bhogi. A bhogi is number 10. Jnani is number 1. We will keep the scale like that. So the growth is from a bhogi to a jnani through the process of being a yogi. So this is how I would like to present it. It can be presented in so many ways. So you can always say in keeping with the Karma Yoga, the spirit of Karma Yoga discussion, you can say an attitude scale. We can also have an attitude scale where 10 is a bhogi and 1 is a yogi. How much of yoga buddhi I am able to manifest or to actualize? How much of my yoga buddhi I am able to actualize in a given moment for a given action, choice of action, or doing the action, or the experiencing of the result of the action. In these three moments, how much of yoga buddhi I am going to employ. For that, we can have a scale of a bogi number 10 and a yogi number 1. It's an attitude skill. So here we are not saying that. We are talking about the journey, the entire spiritual journey from bandha to moksha, bondage to liberation, bhoga to jnana. It's completely, why did I define it like that? Because when we say spiritual, what do you mean by spiritual? Spiritual life, spiritual methods, what is that? So when we analyze things, analyze life situations, things, set our goals, priorities, we are basically using our knowledge. Our knowledge comes from senses, 5 senses, and then analyzing the inputs from the senses using our intellect, we come to conclusions. From conclusions, we create convictions. We develop a system of understanding. It all happens in the background as we learn the learning process. So basically, perception and logic. This is what we use, what we call as empirical knowledge, scientific knowledge, materialistic, normal, secular knowledge. Right? Now, this is in the realm of the known, the waking state, some observations of our own mind and things like that, some inputs from our dream, an analysis of our everyday experience of waking, dream, and sleep. All these things put together, it gives us the tangible, workable knowledge. That this is the realm of the known. Right? We know. This is all we can know by individual effort, employing our senses, by analysis, etc. We can know by ourselves with the faculties that are given to us. This is the known world. Right? So this is a natural known world where we have the sensory experiences, life experiences, situations that we face, and then our internal world of knowledge, emotions, etc. All the world that we are experiencing and understanding. The world that we understand with the framework of different frameworks of knowledge and with our logic and everything, science, etc. This is the known world, natural world, material world, psychological, all put together, we'll call it as material or natural world. Now, this experience that we are having, this experience of this life, right now, this sensory manifest experience that we are having, came forth into manifestation, has come, is made available for experience from a source, from a cause. And we see that some occasions with some, we don't know exactly what is happening. And also we have the revelations from rishis, etc. that behind this seen world, seeable, seen, analyzable world, there is an unseen dimension. There is a what they call as the spiritual dimension. There is a world, the unseen world, adrishtana, which cannot be seen, but whose effects are shown here, and to that unseen world we can relate through our seen world. There is some kind of a map between the seen and the unseen. The unseen is the cause from where this seen has come, and the whole thing is sustained in that. And from the scriptures, from the Shastra, we know that everything goes back into it. So from we have ages after ages in every culture, in every continent, in every age, we have mystics, shamans, masters, yogis, seers, rishis, etc., who keep on telling us about some truths regarding this unseen world in so many ways, some in a very ambiguous, symbolic way, some in a very clear way, like we see the Upanishads, and also we have a symbolic and a story form of presentation. Also, we have very clear presentation, and then we have others who have understood that and who interpreters, the Bhashyakaras, etc., the ones who interpret those revelations for the normal person to understand in the right way, etc. So we have all that. So we have these Bhashyakaras in every religion, in every spiritual tradition. They are the commentators, the theologians. For the monotheists, we have theologians. So only in the tribal cultures where the shaman, probably the shamans have some interpreters. I don't know. I'm not been with the shamans. So generally there is somebody who interprets this for the normal person. So there is the revealers, the interpreters, and the common man, the consumers. This is the spiritual world. So the spiritual knowledge, this is how we know. So the spiritual knowledge comes to us through somebody telling us, and we try to make sense of that using some logic. For example, we have in Sadhana Panchakam, Sri Adi Shankaracharya, he says, Shruti Shiro Paksha Samashriyatam. May you take the side of the Shruti. Whatever the Shruti is telling, you take its side in terms of understanding, in terms of applying your faculty of logic, etc. Then he says, Dustarkat Sumiramyatam. Desist from Dustarka means useless, perverse logic. Shruti Mataha Tarka Anubandiyatam. May you undertake the effort of applying logic in keeping with the opinion of the Shruti. So the logic that is used in Sampradaya is not absolute logic or rationality like how we see in the Western philosophies, but logic applied in a way that does not challenge the revelation. So you accept the revelation as true Suti Pramanam. What it says is true. Now, let me align my understanding in a way, let me bridge the gap between my understanding and the truth that is revealed. Let me understand the original intent of the revelation, what it is trying to say. So that is why we have, for example, Brahma Sutra is considered, it has a higher Pramanatvam. When you say, we have this basically Shruti Pramana, Smriti Pramana, and Yukta Pramana. So in Brahma Sutra, we have the Prasthanatraya in Brahma Sutra is considered to be the ultimate authority because it has the knowledge of the Shruti. It is also that combined with logic. It is logically reinforced revelation. So it is considered as the higher Pramana. So when we want to understand, they always refer to, to see what is the line of argument, like that. So we have a very sophisticated way of helping us to relate to the spiritual knowledge as it is given without losing track. This is a very sophisticated system. We may not have such sophisticated systems elsewhere in the world regarding the methodology of approaching the spiritual knowledge. It's all there, but the spiritual realm is not available. The pramanatvam or intuition or whatever we call is not taken as a valid means of knowledge, at least in this tradition, in the Vedantic tradition, in the Vaidika Sampradaya. Intuition is not pramana. The valid, as a valid means of knowledge, how the senses are. If I ask you, what is the color of your mouse pad? So you have a computer. What's the color of the mouse pad? If you got a mouse pad, say the color. What is the color of the dress you are wearing? You are able to say. How did you say? The moment I ask, you immediately employ your vision. Try to see. Suppose if you are blind, you ask your friend who can see and say, hey, what is the color of the cloth? What is the color of the mouse pad? You ask your friend. The friend says, hey, this is blue color, which I'm designing something. And then you say, okay. So you are employing a pramana, a valid means of knowledge for seeing something. Also, if I ask you to do some calculations or something, you are applying your reason. You don't impute. If I ask you what is the color of the sofa in the next room, you will go see and come back if you don't remember. So you remember from what you saw and you tell me. So this is instantly, without any thought, you apply the pramana. So similarly, regarding spiritual things, Shruti is considered as Pramana, Veda, Pramana, Shastra is considered as Pramana. So what is, if you want to know something regarding the spiritual world, what happens to me after death, for example, you will never know by perception or by experience or logical analysis. We can come to so many conclusions, but we cannot come to a clear, ascertained conclusion just by perception and logic, because that knowledge is not available in the natural world. For you, as we are designed, it is not available. You may say that I went into out of body experience, I went to a regression analysis, I saw my past life, I saw how I left my body and how I was in the astral world and I came into this body. All that you can say, but how do you know it's not your imagination? For example, we have this out of body experience. Somebody who analyzed 5,000 something cases of out of body experience, each person is telling one story. If person is from a Christian background, after death, he leaves the body, goes and meets God in heaven, sitting on the throne, Jesus Christ on his right side, because he's Christian. Some Hindu dies, he will see some Krishna, Rama, or Shiva. Some, I don't know what, whether they did that with the Mohammedan, I don't know, I didn't read that. So these two, for example, and some new age person says they experience some huge ball of light, something. So depending on the person's conditioning, the afterlife experience description keeps changing. But everybody has a certain common thread. So they analyze the data and speculate, oh, everybody has gone through this kind of a experience of some bright light going through a tunnel, etc., etc. And then they say this must be a common factor. But how it is, what happens after that, what are the variables that control your, that control your journey when you leave the body? What are the forces that you meet? How to ensure that the journey is smooth? All that we don't know. We will never know. So what we do is we trust the source of spiritual knowledge with the Shruti and other Shastras and the Itihasas, Puranas and the Dharma Shastras, etc. And then we try to believe that with Shraddha, we do whatever is recommended by the scriptures with the assumption that it is true. And by doing all this, my afterlife, after when I leave the body, the journey afterlife, the afterlife journey will be taken care. An example I'm giving of using spiritual tech. So somebody is offering spiritual knowledge and then some spiritual tech, which is absolutely no way to verify. It is just, you have to just take it or leave it. This is, we have to be very clear about this, because when we are telling knowledge, I know about, so I have studied, let us say that I have studied some special Shastra that talks about, some specific beings in Brahmaloka whom I can invoke with some mantras and who will do things for me, or there is some Gandharva Vidya, something is there. There are some disembodied beings called Gandharvas. So if I invoke the Gandharva, these things I can do, these I will get, something is there. So there are some mantravadis who do that, and then they do, they bring things out of the thin air and all that. So in Mantra Mahodadi, there is a text, something called Indrajalika Vidya is there, and there are some mantras, etc. Right? So there are some people who are doing that, and some of them are able to, they call as the Mantra Siddha, and they're able to show some result. Excuse me. So, but what I am able to see, this, how I am able to say this is true? In some cases, there are verifiable results. For example, a person went to Shringeri Shankaracharya. I think it was Sri Chandrasekhar Bharati Swamiji or Narasimha Bharati Swamiji. I heard about that. It seems the person was doing a mantra for a long time, and he said they are telling about how do I know? I'm doing for so long. How do I know this? I got mantra siddhi or not? And then the Acharya said, it seems it is written in the scriptures that when you do when you keep that pori, when you keep that paddy under your seat, then you do the mantra japa. If you have mantra siddhi, the paddy will pop and you will get pori. Pori is that popped rice. The rice, the paddy pops like a popcorn, and then the rice thing it comes out like a popcorn, the rice pops, popped rice. So it's called pori. He said all that paddy will become puri. And then the person was like, no, modern education, we can't take over. You are telling something. So he knows, he was a Siddha, so he could know his thoughts. And he said, oh, you think it is, I'm just joking, you think scriptures are all false. Then he tells one of the attendants to bring that some paddy. He puts his under and he sits in dhyana, puts Padmasana or something, he sits in dhyana. And he does japa or whatever. Within a minute or two, all the paddy starts forming. Then he says, I'm sorry for doubting, and then he does a namaskara and then he goes. And then after that, imagine how much his Shraddha will be. So, we in our Sampradaya, we are very lucky to have Mahatmas like that who can demonstrate a thing or two to help us have our, improve our Shraddha in the scripture. See, the scriptures are telling this. This is based on a certain logic, and these results can be seen. So now, since I have demonstrated the results that can be seen, you also believe about all the things that are told about the results that are unseen. So they convince you. Still, I'm telling you, you don't know. You are only believing. Okay, how do I know that this could be right and that could be false? Maybe it is some kind of a conspiracy, some hidden signs or something, some logic, some verifiable things. They have created some tricks, like magic. Some tricks are there which we don't understand. They tell us, and then we are able to see some results. And then they are using this as a ploy to convince you to believe in all the other things which are actually meant for controlling you, controlling the society like this. If you keep on arguing perverted, then there is no end to that. But the point is, when we approach spiritual information, we have to be very clear. The unseen knowledge, the knowledge of the unseen spiritual world, if it is given from a tradition, it is taken only as a belief, Shraddha, faith. It is only taken on basis of faith. It is not going to be clear ever. Adrishta palam, it is said. For example, Pitru Karyam is Adrishta palam. There may be some signs, like when I did my karma, there was one kaka which came and stood there till the karma was over and then it flew away. I think that kaka must have been my grandfather. Like this, we can create some associations. But it's not a conclusive proof. It is not like, it's not like your grandfather coming in a body of light and then you can videograph it and put it in YouTube, everybody can see. That would be a undeniable proof. If they say there is some Babaji sitting in the Himalayas, that Babaji can come and give an interview in BBC TV, or some local channel or something, then you have no doubt whether that Babaji is there or not. They're telling some Babaji is there in Himalayas, 2000 years. All stories are there, Kriya Yoga stories, no? So the Babaji never comes to give any interview. He's so powerful, but he's not able to give a TV interview. So like this, they argue, right? So in Yoga Sutra also we have a similar thing. He says in Vibhuti Pada, in the 3rd chapter, there are a lot of techniques which are given as the methods for Siddhi, for getting some powers. You can become light like a cotton, you can travel through space, you can remember your past births, you will get the knowledge of the planetary system, you can conquer hunger and thirst. That is something which everybody can try. So when Patanjali says these are actually distractions from the true purpose of yoga, the only purpose these serve, when the yogi experiences the promised results in the siddhis, he is able to enjoy the siddhis after doing the prescribed technique. He knows that Shastra does have some kind of a knowledge about the other dimension, the unseen dimension. So Shastra is serious. It is not some kind of a joke. So he gets the confidence to believe in everything that the Shastra says. Like that it says. Right. So similarly, even then, but the conviction is very high. So when you say that, so it is easy to believe, it becomes easier to believe. Nevertheless, there are some things called Adrishta Palam. This is all Drishta Palam, verifiable result. There are some, they say Mrityunjaya Yajna, if you do, that person will, about to die, can be saved, his life can be saved from Akala Mrityu and things like that. And then in many occasions, the person is saved. We hear that Madhvacharya used to do a lot of Vedic yajnas and demonstrate, and there are demonstrate a lot of climate things like bringing rain and things like that. So people's faith in the Shastra increases. So the great Mahatmas have done that time and again, and that is why we are able to have so much Shraddha in this country. And in our Sampradaya, it is because time to time some Mahatma is coming. Whenever Shraddha is going down, Dharma is going down, some Mahatma is coming and they're doing some little extra miracle stuff to restore the faith. So we have similar stories in other also. We have some prophets and here and there, some avatar or whatever, son of God or whatever. They take birth, some mystics, they take birth and then they restore the faith of the people by doing miracles and all that. So the same logic. But what I am telling this is when we are moving from in the spectrum of bhoga to moksha, what makes us go towards moksha? What makes us, convinces us that we have to strive for moksha? What convinces us to let go of our everyday pleasures and achievements? So there are two options. A very discerning person with a sattvic mind who is not completely carried away by life experiences. He has a desire, he strives for that, achieves that, good, enjoys that, feels good. Then the next desire pops up, strives for that, achieves that, feels good, goes on, so very successful person. And then suddenly, the person is a little sattvic, has some higher intelligence. He will start seeing the limitation in this man. How long should I struggle? Keep on struggling, right? It's a struggle, constant struggle. There is no rest, there is no permanent happiness. I do this, I get that, and that's it. After that, there is no more craving for anything. There is no more seeking. Will seeking itself come to an end? Will struggle itself come to an end? That question, is there something called as a happiness once attained, it will never go? Undiminishing, permanent happiness, is there something like that? If it is not there, I am so tired, I don't want to struggle anymore. So that person will either go into an existential depression, or if the information that yes, there is there any hope out of this? Then the person says, yes, there is something called as the highest happiness, eternal happiness. There is something called as liberation. There is something called as enlightenment, attaining which there is no more craving. There is no more experience of sorrow. There is no more struggle. There is the one who knows his true self will cross the ocean of suffering, will cross the ocean of struggle and samsara. All of this is completely a revelation. You have, there is no, for a person who is only at the level of experienced and objective experience. So only at the level of sensory experience and logic in this objective dualistic world, this is only a promise initially. But this is not adrishtapam. Because he says, because the Rishi tells you that knowing yourself, your true nature. So it is about you, it is about me, it is about us. So when I know about me, some truth about me, that means the promised result is Jiva Mukti, that you will be liberated right here. That means it is an experience that I can relate with. It is something that is attainable, not after death, some unresolved, when you die, when you leave your body, one special chariot will come and carry you. Then it will become like so then I will get this superation, then I will get this special diksha, and then it will become like a suicide cult. Now, there are a lot of suicide cults. They say there are some guy who said, we all, die together and we will all go and live in some tail of a comet, something. There was some suicide cult. So then it becomes something like that. So it's not. He says, here, while you are alive, Jivan Mukti, you can experience it while you are alive. You can experience ending of suffering while you are alive. That is the promise of enlightenment. That is the promise of moksha, Jivan Mukti here now, which is verified. You can verify. If you follow this, you go through this, you get it. By complete tyaga, which is born of jnana, you will attain the eternal, you will discover the eternal, or you will discover yourself to be the eternal dimension of you, we can probably say like that. So So this is a verifiable thing. Then it is only a question of my dedication. And there have been examples of people, and then time and again, there are so many sages from so many places, from so many backgrounds who have not talked to each other, but still they say the same thing. So then with that we get some confidence, and then at least there is some sense in believing in it. You know? Okay, this is something I can attain while I'm alive now here. Then Arjuna gets a doubt. We hear that in Bhagavad Gita. What if I try all that? You know, at least I'm having some fun, enjoying results. I know it's temporary. It's not, I have to keep on struggling, comes and goes, transient happiness, but at least I have something. But now you're telling me to leave everything. Sarvadharman Parityaja. I cannot go behind anything. And I cannot have my everyday fun. All my achievements and moments of, I have a few nice moments in life. That's all gone because I'm supposed to take sannyasa and work only for Atmanyana. Suppose if I miss it, if I die before I attain that, what happens? Then the shloka about Shrutinam Srimatam Gehe, the person will be Yogaprashto Abhijayate, the person who takes the path of yoga, that is from Bhoga to Moksha, the one who is traversing the path from Bhoga to Moksha, it's a yogi. We will put it like that. So the yogi who somehow is not able to attain it but dies before attaining the ultimate, he will continue where he left in the next life. And there is a spiritual order that takes care of that person's, you don't want to, he says, I will take care. I will make sure that he is properly fed and everything, and he gets the right kind of parents, right kind of motivation and atmosphere, and then the right guru, and then he continues from where he leaves. So it is not something that you leave. There is a spiritual order that will ensure that your current spiritual investment does not go waste. That promise is there, which you have to believe. So, when we are starting our spiritual journey, the beginning is this. I see myself as a bhogi. I experience something that is pleasant, and I experience some kind of an ananda, happiness. Object-based happiness, experience external happiness, outside happiness. Then there are some desires. So either sensory pleasures, psychological pleasures, aesthetic pleasures, any kind of pleasure, emotional pleasures, different kinds of things. And then there are some spiritual pleasures where, there are basically you get an altered state of consciousness, and then you experience a higher level of ecstasy, which is, this Kundalini ecstasy. For example, the Kundalini market is like this. They'll tell you, you cannot, you are enjoying only so much pleasure. What are you doing with all this, nice food and sex and all? This is not nothing. Watching movies. Have you ever experienced the Kundalini pleasure, the pressure, the joy that you will get in Laya, and then they give you some techniques, some mudras, some pranayama, or some mantras and everything, and you do that and you manipulate your energies, nerve currents, and then you get some huge ecstasy that you can sustain for hours together. Sometimes, very successful, you can stay days together in that, altered consciousness and ecstasy, and you come on now. Right? So you feel great. And then it happens, so it even become indifferent to all the other things, and you keep on doing that. It becomes like a drug. It's a spiritual drug. Probably you don't have side effects like how you have in normal drugs, but if you have ganja, you also go into some altered consciousness, but you have side effects. You can't pursue your goals. You become a useless waste of that. But if you do this Kundalini and all that, sometimes you get some extra powers. You can go and make some mischief. So it's very exciting. But that is also bhoga. So when we understand bhoga, the definition of bhoga is mediated experiential happiness. Mediated experiential happiness. In the sense, I am using my sense faculties, my body, my mind, my brain to relate with an object or a field of experience, which creates certain conditions and gives me a certain state of mind in which I experience this thing called joy in various degrees, right? Ananda. I keep on doing. keep on repeating that. The one experience over, next experience, next object. So this, then I go, because it cannot be sustained, it has to be sustained, and sustenance requires effort, then it is gone. No matter what I do, experiential happiness can be sustained for some time, it's gone, it's nice, but it's gone. Then again, I have to do work, again, get the next happiness, the next gig. And then I enjoy that. I sustain it for some time, enjoy it for some time, it's gone. Then the next one. So it keeps on going. So this is the life of Bhoga, mediated experiential external happiness. Happiness is internal. I mean, an external situation, something other than me, an external dependent and object dependent happiness. This object would be a terrestrial object or a celestial object. Going to Golok Vrindavana and dancing with Lord Krishna included is, they will not accept, they will say it's Paramatma, they have the theories, but I'm telling you from the Vedanta point of view, it is also Bhoga. Then probably they will call it Mahabhoga or whatever, I don't know. So this is how it is. So you go to Brahmaloka, all this comes under, going to heaven, or in some religion you go to heaven, you have 72 women. All these things come under Bhoga. Wherever there is a second entity, there is going to be a temporary experience. There is going to be fear of losing that nice experience. There is going to be samsara. Right. And yet, the moment, whatever we see as an objective entity is anitya. It is not eternal. It is time bound. It comes up. That experience comes up at a point of time, continues for some time, it goes away. Right. So this is bhoga. I know the only kind of happiness I know is through experiencing different objects of sensory pleasure or psychological pleasure. This is bhoga. Now, I see the limitation in bhoga. I hear about the possibility of permanent happiness, the complete cessation of all struggle and all temporariness. I am hearing of a possibility of something eternal. And I also hear that it is something about me. It is my own true nature. And it is experienceable. I am always, so this, I see that this is not required for happiness. This is not all that is to life. And I hear about a completely, radically, totally another possibility. Then I want that. Then let us call that ultimate possibility of enlightenment as jnana, which is moksha. Right? So now I am tired. The one who is tired of bhoga wants moksha. Right? Then the journey of yoga starts. Yoga is basically a gradual extricating myself from the habitual tendency for bhoga. From there, I'm withdrawing myself and becoming ready for self-knowledge. This is the whole process of extricating myself out of the clutches of this habit pattern of seeking bhoga. No, I will not say from bhoga, the world is not holding us. We are only holding on to the world. It's like they say, there is some story of a master who said, or somebody went and told the Mahatma that, this samsara doesn't leave me. This world is always, giving me so much trouble. Doesn't let me go and all that. So this Mahatma ran and he hugged a pillar. And he said, oh, please help me. The pillar is not leaving me. The pillar is not leaving me. He said, what, Maharaj, you are the one who is holding on to the pillar. How the pillar, you have to leave the pillar will not leave you. Then he said, that's what you are doing with the world. The world is jada. All the objects are jada, they are inert. How can they hold you? You are holding on to the world. So that is basically a psychological holding on to the realm of experiential happiness. It's a reinforced habit, a multiple janma reinforced habit. So we see that I need to extricate myself in order to be aware for exclusive pursuit of the eternal. to the exclusion of everything else. If I want to devote myself completely to that, I must take myself, I must stop all these habit patterns and become totally available for it. So that person who embarks on this journey in the sense, embarks on this effort of deconditioning oneself from Boga, is a yogi. Is a yogi is a transition phase for becoming a jnani, for the sake of talking. So basically, a jnani is a liberated person. Bhogi is a bound person. Yogi is a person who recognizes liberation and tries to become free from the habit pattern of Bhoga to become available for Jnana or Atma. So this process is yoga, freeing oneself from the habit pattern of Bhoga. Right. Now, when we say spirituality, the spiritual knowledge that comes from revelations, it caters to every category. There is a spiritual knowledge, information that caters to the bhogi. You will be surprised. There is spiritual knowledge for a bhogi. All the rituals, all the prayogas and everything is meant for a bhogi. So let us call the bhogi as a materialistic person. And the person seeking liberation is a spiritual person. Why? Because Atma, the spirit. The spirit means the truth behind everything. The spirit is the conscious principle inside us. Body is matter. The conscious me, I am the spirit. Knowing me, the process of or dedication towards or attaining or knowing me, the spirit behind this existence. I am the spirit. So to know myself, the spirit, to know the spirit is spirituality. To be devoted to the spirit is spirituality. To be devoted to the matter in the sense of a matter mediated experience is material. So bhoga, let us use the word for bhoga, materialistic. And the yoga is a spiritual. And the jnani is he is the spirit itself. The jnani is the spirit itself. So there is no discussion about jnani. So the journey, materialism to pure spirituality, let us call it as pure spirituality, maybe, jnana, moksha is pure spirituality. Then the transition from pure materialism to pure spirituality. Right? So this is the spectrum. This is the spectrum of growth. So when we talk about that, gradually, so when I'm going through this discussion, I'm going to gradually try to avoid as much as possible the scriptural jargons. But if I will clarify it in a way that is relatable to us in our normal language. Okay. So what it actually means. So let us call this as material, purely spiritual. Now, this is about the nishta, the attitude of the person. The person is totally devoted to enjoyments. That is bhogi, right? Now, these enjoyments could be terrestrial or celestial, I told you. So when I hear about, when I am very busy earning a lot of money, this is really happened. So there was this guy who was very busy trying to make some money. Some poor fellow. He was trying to make the car park, get some parking space for the car, and he gets some money in here and there, and then he does some odd jobs. So this missionary, religious missionary, you know whom I'm talking about. He goes to this guy and says, "Why don't you work for God? You work for people, you get pennies. If you work for God, you will go to heaven, and the heaven is paved. In heaven, the roads are paved with gold. The entire heaven is made of gold. You will be so rich. Life experience will be so rich. You should try for heaven and not all these things." And he tries to convince him to become another preacher or to do the work of God, whatever. Right? So, simple man, he doesn't ask, okay, but can I get that gold in heaven and come and use it here? Because, for example, our road is full of mud, tar, etc., stones, silicon. what is the value of that mud and tar in earth? Suppose if there is another planet where they don't have mud at all, then it is, if I take this there, I can sell it and get some good value. I will become rich. In a place where everything is gold, that is the value of gold. Then you are not rich. There is nothing, it's the same story there. Probably you will be doing the same beggar job for servant job for all the other rich people there in that heaven. Actually, it depends on what is the resource that you have that is rare there. So based on that, a person's richness is there, right? So, but he cannot. He's a simple guy. So this guy tries to tell him, in heaven everything is gold. You'll have a great life. So basically, the boga buddhi, the materialistic mind, is not challenged. No, I am having a nice life with with my wife and everything. Okay, there is some struggles, there is some family, something, and or I don't know, my wife left me and I'm frustrated. So then this guy comes, terrorism recruiter comes and says, if you die for the sake of the faith, you will go to heaven and you will get what? One woman. You will get 72 beautiful women who will never become old. And they will always desire you, and all the stories. You know that story. So that is a promise. So then that motivates him. So I am ready to die for the sake of faith. I'll go and kill a few people, and I'll go as a martyr, and I'll go to heaven, and I get specially treated with some people. Now the buddhi is the same. The bhoga is the same. But instead of a material source for my pleasure, I am promised a spiritual source. So let us call it as a spiritual materialism. Whether it is true or not is another question. I'm just using a simple example for us to understand the concept. Right? Spiritual materialism. The same thing in Karma Kanda. It's a little more refined because it's from the rishis and sophisticated. We have a knowledge system. We are not some stupid desert cult. So we have it's more sophisticated. So we have, it says, if you do this upasana, Jyotish Toma Yajna, if you do that, you will go to Swarga, you will become Indra, you will get Indra Padavi. I remember when an old man was doing, he's doing Manasika Yajna, doing something like this. So I asked him, sir, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing this Manasika Yajna of this thing. Why are you doing? If I do this after death, I will get Indra Padavi. I'm not kidding. He's really serious. He's doing that. From the point of view of moksha, it looks like a joke, but if you go to karmakandis, they are very serious. They are very devoted about that. That is why we have a concept of even karma deva. The one who you can become a deva by the power of your karma. Then you get an astral body at the time you leave the body. At the time of the death, you remember all the dharmas you did, all the yajnas you did, all the punya karmas that you did. You remember all that, and then you own up that. You own up your spiritual wealth, and then that some probably gives you a certain astral resonance, and then you get a trajectory that takes you in the path towards the punya lokas. They say you have a lot of theory about that. So basically there is a promise of tweaking the subtle variables in the spiritual world, which will ensure a relatively more lasting pleasure after death. But it is pleasure nevertheless. It is an object-oriented, mediated enjoyment nevertheless. So, if I am using spiritual knowledge in that way, or I want to get this thing done somehow, I want to attract this person and make that person fall in love with me. It's very famous. I'm not joking. If you go to Kamakhya, some tantrics, in North India, also in Delhi especially, there are a lot of people who go to tantrics, and these there are these fakirs kind of there are these Muslim mantravadis. Then we have our Hindu mantravadis. All these guys, they do, or in the European countries there are witches. They have these, the gypsies, they do a lot of, and I have heard about that in Europe and in Romania, in countries like Romania, Bulgaria. We have these gypsies who do some ritualistic magic. It's also famous in Siberian shamanism. So there are these people who do certain specific rituals, some techniques that will make a person fall in love with this person. So I want this person to be attracted to me. Then there is Vashikara. It's called Vashikaranam. And if you take Sharada Tilaka Tantram and all that, you have the Shat Prayogas. So you have this Vashyam, you have this Marana Prayoga, Vashya Prayoga, and all those Prayogas are there. So you can do that and make that person be attracted to you so that you can have a pleasurable relationship with that person. It's there. So I want a Bhoga. I have tried all my materialistic means, or I want a shortcut, and I want a shortcut. So I will manipulate the subtle dimension so that I am able to enjoy this materialistic pleasure. It is another form of spiritual materialism, where it is about drishta palam. So basically using spiritual tech to get things done, to make myself have an enjoyment. So using spiritual tech to get things done is spiritual materialism. But it is materialism nevertheless. This is what we need to understand. So what am I, being a religious person or a very spiritual person does not mean, just because the person has belief, faith in spiritual things and does spiritual practices, that does not make a person spiritual according to our definition. So that which takes you towards the spirit, the true spirit or the true nature or the self, anything that takes you closer to self-realization, we are calling spiritual. That's what we are defining here. So anything that uses spiritual tech for getting things done is spiritual materialism or spiritually manipulated materialism. It is only materialism. It is bhoga. So we are talking about a transformation of attitude. So when we are prioritizing, when we are prioritizing a spiritual tool or a spiritual study, then we have different resources. For example, we have so many resources nowadays because of the information explosion. We have access to all kinds of things. There are people offering Kundalini Diksha online, and there are people offering magical solutions. Probably there are people offering black magic also. I see so many advertisements. This some Mahakali, some Tantra. If all your problems can be solved, court cases can be solved. That advertisement in classifieds. Not probably you can see also. So all this comes under spiritual materialism. I am using spiritual knowledge to get things done. So that is also samsara. I'm not telling it is wrong or something, but it is of the nature of the same bondage. We need to understand that we need to distinguish what is done. So when we are approaching the spiritual knowledge, the knowledge of the unseen world, we have to take into consideration a couple of things. One, what is my purpose towards that? Just because a spiritual tool seems to be appealing to me, do I have to do that? What is my purpose here? What seeking a spiritual tool for? And for whatever I am seeking, do I need a spiritual tech? Do I need a spiritual tool at all? Probably I just need to, probably I just need to become more successful in my career. I don't need to learn some special hypnotism so that I will get psychic powers and read. Some guy called me, I said, how do I learn to read people's thoughts? I said, why do you want to read people's thoughts? It's already we are having a hard time putting up with people's words. You want to learn the thoughts also. So then I talked to a little bit, he said, I'm practicing this technique, concentration technique, all that. He said, he's very tense. I talked about him. Basically, the guy has no career, he has no job, and he has an identity crisis. Nobody respects him in the house. So he wants a shortcut. He wants to do something to feel special. It's like these people who become activists. Many, there are activists who are really, they want to do something. But there are people who jump into activism for emotional reasons. They want to be something. They can't be anybody. They want to be somebody. Get some attention, get some visibility or whatever. They want to feel like they are doing something useful. It's an ego trip. So Like that, it could become an ego trip, or it could become a bhoga trip. So all these issues are there. So when do I really need, what am I actually seeking? So if I am seeking success, then why don't I seek? Oh, am I still audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Because it says that I signed out. So we need to find out what is the purpose of this spiritual knowledge, the intended purpose, whatever is the spiritual knowledge that is made available to me. What is its intended purpose? What is it meant for? This is called as sadhana sadhya sambandha. What is my goal? What am I seeking? And what is the sadhana or the tool I am using? And what is the connection between this tool and the goal that I am seeking? Is there a connection? Or is this goal necessary? Is this sadhana necessary? So can I accomplish the same thing with my normal material effort, my senses, my effort, and my reasoning, and my normal secular worldly knowledge? If I can accomplish something with my worldly knowledge, better to stick to worldly knowledge and don't bother about the spiritual aspect of it at all. It's totally not necessary. I use all my faculties and I'm sincere and I'm honest. I'm striving. I'm using my efforts and I'm acting to the best of my knowledge. Maybe I can send a small prayer for the grace, for success, and I get what I want. So that's the way to go. And instead of trying to find spiritual shortcuts to get things easily, that's a very destructive behavior. That is a very destructive approach even for oneself. So we have that. So spiritual materialism, spiritual materialism. And then comes slowly from that, when we understand the spiritual goal, we start becoming spiritual and the path of yoga starts. So as we start as a yogi, the one who seeks true spirituality, pure spirituality, one who goes in the path towards it, in the context of extricating myself from the habit pattern of seeking yoga, being a yogi, in my journey towards jnana, how do I prioritize different aspects in my spirit? This is my spiritual life. And how do I prioritize from time to time the different knowledge, different tools, and how do I allot my time and all those things? Spiritual prioritizing comes in this context because we have a lot of issues when we have to prioritize, and in our spiritual approach in this true spiritual journey, we have a lot of issues from inside us. Then we have a lot of confusion from the marketing. It's a multi-billion-dollar mocha market out there. Everybody's telling me what to do. And then we have different interactions with energy, unconscious forces that, and then we have our past life samskara, so many unseen forces that manipulate how we think, not consciously, but it just happens. We get manipulated by so many unseen energies and vibrations. So all these we are going to discuss in the coming days. Let us put it in the concept of spiritual prioritization. How to prioritize what spiritual knowledge systems I seek, resources I seek, the spiritual resources I seek, and how I use them, or which spiritual tool I will have to invoke for what purpose. So how to prioritize my spiritual activity among the given options in my spiritual journey. So the prioritizing, the problem of prioritizing in my spiritual journey. So we're going to discuss that. I think I have given enough foundation for this, and we have defined what is spirituality, the journey towards jnana, towards the pure spirit. This is what we are talking as spirituality. We are totally leaving out the materialistic spirituality or the spiritual materialism. We are leaving that. Using tools and spiritual tech for getting things done. We are totally leaving that. Kamya karma, we are totally leaving that. We are only talking about yoga now in the journey towards jnana. So as a yogi, how to prioritize different aspects of my spiritual life. In my journey as a yogi towards jnana. We are going to continue this discussion in the coming days. Please participate, please ask questions, please challenge certain things that I say so that we have very fruitful discussion. Right? So with that, I will conclude today. And Shanti mantra, and after the Shanti mantra, maybe you can ask 1 or 2 questions if somebody has. Else, you can always ask your questions on YouTube or write this. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Sat. Thank you.
Is there any questions? If there is any questions, anybody can unmute and ask the questions.
I have something in the chat. I do.
Yes, I do have questions.
1 second. Let me wear my headphones. Yes.
Namaste, Vanakkam.
No, sir.
The question is, you were giving the class on, you were saying about the first Shruti and Smriti. So,
I was talking about what?
Shruti and Smriti in a context you were
Shruti.
saying.
Yes.
So, it's, I don't know, I can ask, but the Gayatri Mantra, like Sandhya Vandana and things, is it only male should do, or I know some friend is like encouraging on female to do, so I want that clarification on that part. I would like to know.
See, Sandhya Vandana, there are 2 types of Sandhya Vandana. Vaidika Sandhya Vandana and Tantrika Sandhya Vandana. Tantrika Sandhya Vandana, females can also do. Vaidika Sandhya Vandana, only males should do, because how do I say only males should do? The rules and regulations regarding any spiritual tool that we take from a tradition, because it is an unknown world, we have to take the whole package. When we are adopting a spiritual tool from a tradition, we have to adopt the spiritual tool with all the advice that goes along with that. So according to the Dharma Shastras and other things, and what the Sampradaya tells is that Gayatri, the Vaidika Gayatri mantra should not be done by females. That is the rule. For whatever reason, one Shivacharya told me that the uterus will become weak and all that. So these are all further explanations. But Shastra is like this. It says, do this, don't do this. So we take it or we leave it. There is no way of telling that, I did Gayatri Mantra, I felt good, why should I not do? There is no answer. We can only say this is the recommendation. If you want to follow the Shastra, the recommendation is females do not do Vaidika Sandhya Vandana. Females do not do the Vedic Gayatri Mantra. Females can do Tantric Sandhya Vandana. For example, you can get initiated in Ganapati Mantra or Bala Tripura Sundari Mantra or something. And there is a Sandhya Vandana around that. That females can do. My grandmother used to do Tantric Sandhya Vandana. She would be our pastor. She used to do that. So that is all right. So when you follow a Sampradaya, the Sampradaya has certain rules for a certain prayoga or a practice. And we have to take it. If you really don't want side effects, and if you want the entire benefit, and if you respect the Sampradaya, one has to take it entirely. See, why do these people want to do Gayatri Mantra? Because they respect the Sampradaya's authority, which says Gayatri Mantra Japa is going to help you in this way, this way, this way. They're taking that. So if you respect the Sampradaya enough to take this one, why don't you respect the Sampradaya to take the associated rules also? Either take the whole package or leave it, do something else. And doing Gayatri Mantra, Sandhya Vandanam, for a female is not essential. There are other things which are described by the tradition for the female, so they can do that. So this is also, I only want to do what is prohibited. It's a problem of Shraddha, and it is a problem of Vitanda Vadam, what we say, Swechhacharam, we say, doing whatever you like, you feel like doing. So that doesn't work. See, the problem, all this problem comes because of semi-traditional teachers. You have the semi-traditional teachers. They start very nicely. Then they get some foreign devotees or whatever. Then they start making females do Gayatri Mantra, foreigners do Gayatri Mantra without Upanayana, nothing. They start, chanting it loud together. All this nonsense happens in, legendary places, like, you have Rishikesh, Uttarkashi. These places when you see a big Swami from a huge tradition doing that, it's very disappointing. But no, so these are all rituals, right? So we have to take the ritualistic rules from a proper Mimamsaka or a Karmakanda person, what the person says. You create the benchmark rules. From that, we see what are the essential rules, and maybe what can tweak a little bit here and there. We have to understand that. And do not compromise the essential rules. If there are some aspects which I can tweak a little bit, maybe I can tweak it for my convenience or for the situations demanding of the situation. Right? So this would be the right approach. But we don't have to tell them, you do that, you will go to hell or whatever. But if you tell them this, see, you take this because you believe in the tradition. The tradition tells you, these are the injunctions and prohibitions connected to this mantra. So either take it fully or leave it. And then give an alternative. You can do that. Now, if you go to a traditional grocery shop, this is what we in Tamil Nadu we call a Anachikara. So you go there, you ask him, sir, Philips bulb, you have Philips bulb? He'll say, you can say, I have Lakshman Singania bulb. He will not say, I don't have Philips bulb. No, he will give an alternative. That's a fantastic approach. So we can give an alternative. You could ask that, give an alternative. And we can say some Arthavada, that is even considered as so much. One Panchadashi is considered as 3 Gayatri, like this. You have this Arthavada. So you can tell something like that, motivate the person to do so.
Thank you so much, Andri.
I think it's enough for today. Please keep your questions and continue in the next. I think we can stop the recording.
Sir, I don't think any more questions now.
I don't think so. Is there time? Because it is more than 1 hour. Next class. Keep your question and please come to the next class with the question or send me in the YouTube comments. I will answer.
Yes,
or I will
even.
answer in the next class.
So you have chances to ask the questions in YouTube also and as well as in the chat also. Anywhere is possible. And even we can answer it in the next session. Thank you so much. If there is no questions. I don't think there is questions now, sir. Shall we?
I cannot sleep tonight. If you don't answer me, then you can ask. Otherwise, we will. Sadly, no one has that urgency.
I have a question, but I was going to wait till next week since we're over 1 hour.
Yeah, okay. So please come in the next class and ask the question.
Yes, okay. Yes,
you can
thank
put
you.
the question in the chat so that I will come with the answer ready.
Okay.
You just ask the question. We will close
okay.
the session with the question. We will continue the next class with this question.
Okay, yes, sure, absolutely. So my question is attention. Thank you for the lecture. First of all, my question is attention. I sometimes see, which is, you said we accept the Shastra with Shraddha. We start with the assumption, but the tension I see is this Shastric knowledge is very old. There's no age. Yes. It's very old. There's no age limit. So how can we?
There is no proper. I mean, it's not historically limited.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, sure. Yes, and I'm not arguing or not questioning that point. I suppose my question is, whoever these rishis or whoever the source of these ancient knowledge, Patanjali or Adi Shankaracharya, whoever, when they were historically, they, as far as we know, did not have the same knowledge, at least of the material world, that we have today, like speed of light, number of galaxies, modern scientific, right?
We don't know that.
Okay, we don't know. True, but as far as we know, as far as I know, this is modern discoveries that have been made of DNA or anything, right? So how can we say that they somehow had this knowledge of this other dimension, even greater than this material world,
Right.
billions of light years, we can trust them on that. But they didn't have, or apparently they didn't know, as far as, like, once again, as far as I
Right.
know,
Right.
they didn't have the knowledge that we have today, that developed over 100 years only. That is a tension I don't. I mean, I
We'll
have
address
some.
this in the next class.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Excellent
you.
question.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. Hariom.
Okay, I'm leaving. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.